Hi, I'm Sharon Landon, and welcome back to Old Asian Lady. Today, my guest is Sophie Lee. She is from Taiwan and spent some time studying abroad in the US. We chat about her career choices and how that led to entrepreneurship in partnership with three of her friends. She shares her thoughts about the challenges of starting a company and what she has learned moving forward. We also discuss her experiences purchasing a first home here in Taiwan, the responsibility and the reality of working 3 jobs to pay for her mortgage. Sophie, thanks for coming by. I think it's been, I don't know, how many years that we saw each other last.
Well,
Before the other day,
yeah,
when
before
I
the
saw
other
you
day,
at the-
yes. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. It's such an honor. Last time before the event, I think probably 2019.
Well, I'm glad that you're here now. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wanted to, talk a little bit about your life and what's going on with you. I know some of it, but a lot of things I'll probably discover brand new.
Yeah.
But you're from Taiwan.
Born and raised.
Born and raised, and then you went for a few years, right, back
Yeah.
to the States.
Yes.
I mean, not back to the States,
Yeah.
but to the States.
To the States.
Yeah. So, what was that something that your parents had wanted you to do, or you wanted to do it yourself?
That's actually a very interesting question. So growing up, I never really feel like fitting into Taiwan educational system or whatever, pretty much the whole environment. I couldn't really fit in. And then during high school, I just really pretty much kind of gave up with pretty much everything. I was really at a desperate kind of state. But my parents always know that I wanted to go to the US to study and everything because they always know that I enjoy the environment and everything over there. So it was kind of to them, it's like the last hope for me to kind of want to keep on going and everything. So they're like, okay, let's just, let you go to the US. And then they pretty much put in all the effort and, financial wise and everything. And then they just sent me to the US. And then it turned out to be I think the best decision we've ever made. Because when my mom first told me that, okay, we're gonna, do whatever we can and let you go to study in the US, I was in such a desperate state that I told my mom, I can remember vividly, I said, Mom, you know what? Don't waste your money on me anymore. Just put that money on my brother because I think it will, he has more potential than I do. So yeah, I was that desperate. But then it turned out to be a really awesome decision.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I just want to bring this back because I mean, I didn't ever see, this is something that I'm learning new about you. That, okay, I understand, a lot about the Taiwan education system and the challenges that it creates for a lot of students. But for you, I mean, what got you to the point where you just felt like you just wanted to give up?
It feels I always feel I was lost, I couldn't really connect with the people over here or with the land. Right now I feel better, but before it just it feels like I was lost. I didn't know why I need to go to school. I didn't know what's the point of going to school. I kept asking different people the same question. Why go to school?
You mean this is when you're in elementary school, young, or even in junior high school?
Junior high school. I remember I asked my classmates, who was always at the first place, have the best grades and everything. Every time when she's study super hard and everything, I was like, why do you study so hard? And then they're just because I'm a student, I should be. And I was like, okay, but then what do you want to do with all the things that you learn? And they're like, I don't know. So I was so lost because I don't see the point of doing it. I know the reason why I can speak fluent English is not only because I stayed in the States for 4 years, but also because I was interested in learning it.
Yeah.
Because I know this is something that I like and I know this is something that I want. And so I have the motivation to do it. But for the rest of the subjects, I just don't find the point. And so I was like, just like, I didn't like to go to school. And of course, parents wouldn't be able to understand because they say, you're a student and that's your responsibility. This is what you need to do. And also, like, I think my personality-wise, I am maybe a little bit different than typical Taiwanese. I don't know if that sounds
very
like
outgoing.
rude.
Your personality is very outgoing, and you're very direct in what you
Yes,
say
exactly.
and do.
I'm very direct, and I'm also like pretty confrontational, and a lot of people cannot really take that because they think that that's rude. But I really think that there's a fine line between it, and then I also think that that's a good thing to be confrontational, and then to be straightforward when just to be efficient. Honestly.
Yeah. How did you develop your interest in the States? I mean, you said you always really
Interested
in the U.S. or American or
and English and stuff.
Yeah.
So when I was in kindergarten, I think my English teacher was from Canada.
Oh.
And then she was like so pretty. You know, she has like blue eyes and gold hair and everything. I was like, wow. Because, you were like kindergarten. And that's the very first white people, that you see. I was like, wow, she's pretty, like she's so different. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. And then she speaks a different language that I could like barely understand. But then it's so fun in the class. So it really just kind of like inspired me to learn. And then because I always try to try to mimic or like try to pronounce the pronunciation, like try to like copy and everything. And then I think I did well. So she was like, and they're really good at, encouraging people and everything. Like, wow, you're so good. Well, good job, Sophie, and everything. I was like, wow, this feels so good. So then it really like kind of started my journey of like learning English. And then my grandparents, they're actually like U.S. citizens.
Oh.
They were U.S. citizens. So they actually emigrated to the States like very early in their lives. So I used to go. Us as a family, we used to go visit them every year. And as a kid, every chance to go out, your country is a fun thing, and then you go to see a different world, and of course all the food. Yeah. I mean, Taiwan's food is really good, but then when you go out and then having that 1 month to just have burgers or like pasta or like those ice creams and everything, it's so good. So it really gave me a really good impression and everything. And then I realized that, I can actually connect with the people over there with my limited English. And then we can actually have fun and everything. So, yeah.
So then, so it was only you. You said you had a brother, but he had not really any interest in that compared to you.
Yeah. I think language-wise, he wasn't really interested in learning English. Right now, I think he kind of wanted to because, work-wise, it's useful. But then back then, he doesn't really see the point of doing it. It's just it's the same story of me.
Yeah, opposites.
Yeah. And then when I had a chance to go to the States, I think my father actually asked him because he always wanted to be, fair with everything. But then he said he's not interested in it. So I was the only child that, ended up going to the States. But yeah.
So what was it like for you then? I mean, what age were you when you went to
I was technically 18, but then I turned 19 2 months later.
Okay.
When I got there. So
did that affect what level you were at school or which
not really, because I went to community college, so they don't really care about your age. The only thing they care is that whether you graduated from your junior high school. And then
junior high school, not even high school.
No, not even high school. I dropped out from
here
high
in
school
Taiwan,
here in Taiwan.
Yeah.
So they only care if you have like junior high school, if you graduated from junior high school, and if you're over 16 years old. And that's the only two things they cared about. I mean, it depends on the school and the state law and everything. But yeah, in Washington State back then, it was like that. And for English proficiency, they just give you a placement test, or you can take TOEFL.
Yeah.
But I didn't take TOEFL, and then I just took a placement test. Yeah.
So I'm just going back a little bit, but when you were saying that you dropped out of school. I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, what would a Taiwanese family or what Taiwanese parents think if their daughter dropped out of school? So how did that happen? I mean, when your parents found out that you said you're going to drop out of school.
So honestly, starting from the very first question you asked me about going to the States and like up until this question, I love like you ask those questions because it's really like fun and interesting stories. So my mom, I don't think, maybe right now she does, but she actually didn't know that I dropped out from high school until I came back from States.
What?
So when I graduated from junior high school, my parents actually got divorced.
Okay.
So, and then my father is actually my guardian, like legal guardian and everything. So he needs to be he's like pretty much, if he agrees with the dropout thing, it's done. So I only need to talk to him. And he's always he's not as, I mean, I know that he was very frustrated because he has always been a good student growing up, and he's always like, doing things by the paper, by the rule and everything. And he was like, he thought I was totally out of control. Like, how did this happen? But he's not as like mom, like
Controlling
what is going on?
Yeah,
mom was, my father was more like calm and like took it like inside and like, okay, I'm gonna deal with this. And then so I told him that, yeah, this is really like not working. I'm not happy and I want to try something else. And then he was like, okay. So I actually dropped out from high school like twice. So first year in the high school, I didn't really finish it. And I actually had a year break, a gap year. Yeah. And then I redo high school again. And then I drop out. And then I went to the States. And this whole process, mom didn't know. She thought I finished at least the second year. And I didn't want to tell her at that time because I knew what her reaction would be.
Right. Oh my gosh.
And I didn't want to start that, fight between me and mom and then mom and my dad.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, it's like no wonder then. There was a way around there. Yeah, so then when you got to the States, where some place that you really wanted to go, what was it like for you going to college?
It was like I was finally home. It feels like I was home. When I got to Seattle, when I arrived there, I was like, oh, the smell of freedom. Well, I mean, not like, it's free in Taiwan as well.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like,
Well, I know
you
what
don't,
you mean.
but you're far from parents.
Yeah.
I think my parents are already like relatively, they're pretty open-minded comparing to a lot of like Asian parents and everything, but still not open enough, I guess, for me. Yeah, but so when I got to Seattle, I feel like I am me, a grown person, because when I was in Taiwan, it always feels like you're under your parents' protection. Everything that you do, you need to ask for their permission, and you always have to, ask them if I can do this and that. What do you think about this and that? Or sometimes they'll give you suggestions, but it's not actually suggestions. It's like decision made for you.
Yeah.
So when I got there, I feel like I can finally make my own decisions, be a grown man, and be responsible for myself, and finally feel like, I can make decisions and then actually, if it doesn't work out as the way that I wanted, I can actually, it feels good to, even though the outcome is not good, it feels good to, you have to, accept it and then process it and then clean up your own mess.
Right.
It feels good to do that as well because it feels like, yeah, I'm capable of doing things.
Yeah, because when you make a decision, then you have to take responsibility for any outcome, whatever it is, good or bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's the feeling of capable of doing things. When I was in Taiwan, I always want to know what is my limit. I always wanted to know what am I capable of doing without parents. And then when I got there, I finally have the chance and I feel like, okay, I'm capable of doing this and that. It's like opening a brand new world and it feels like, oh, finally I can find the confidence, because when I was in Taiwan, I couldn't find the confidence, not just appearance-wise, just everything, because I feel like everything you do it's arranged. Everything you do, it's
Judged
like,
also.
it's judged. Yes,
Yeah.
that's a big part as well. But in the States, it's different. Yeah.
So, were you living with your grandparents?
No.
Okay, you didn't even go to where they were living.
Yeah. So my grandparents they lived in California, live in Los Angeles, but I went to Seattle on purpose, in a way.
Yeah, I figured that. Not in a way. You pretty much did it on purpose.
Yeah, on purpose in a way. So, but my mom did have, she does have a good friend over there living in Seattle, but she doesn't really, like, we do talk, like, from time to time. But yeah, like, she's not, like, taking care of me and everything, which I really, really like it. And then, but she does invite me to dinners and sometimes to just making sure that I'm all right. And I think that in a sense it gives my parents a little bit of, you know, feeling of, yeah, my daughter is safe, and, you know, if anything actually happened, there will be someone be able to help, like an adult to help. But yeah.
Yeah, so you had your own apartment there, or you lived in a dorm, or you were at community college?
Yeah, at first I lived with the, what's it called? Host family.
Okay, so other Taiwanese families that you
No, it's American family.
Okay.
Yeah, at first, because the agency, they were working with like a host family, like, agency and stuff.
Oh, right.
So they arranged me, like, to live with the American family. And I only stayed there for like a month because that was not so happy experience. But again, I enjoy it. I enjoyed every bit of it, even though it wasn't a good experience. But at least you experienced it. So what happened was, I got there, and then everything seems to be fine at first. And then I think after a week or two later, I got a phone call from the agency telling me that, the host mom thinks that I brought something illegal to the States, or like it smells very chemical and it caused her whatever, like, allergy and stuff. And I was like, what? I was like, no. And she asked me if I brought any food that wasn't taken, like, it was still in the, like, luggage and it's rotten or something. I was like, no, I took out everything the first day. I unpacked everything the first day. There's no food and nothing. And then the next second I was like, wait, because she said she smelled something from my luggage. And then I was like, did she went into my room? Did she go into my room and then, like, without asking me?
Yeah.
And then the agent was like, I was like, I thought you American, like, care about privacy the most, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and then how could she do that? Because my luggage was very inside of my room. And then when I went home, I saw her open my door. It's like my door was like wide open. And then she had a fan blowing into my room and stuff. I was like, first of all, this is very disrespectful. You didn't even talk to me and ask me about it. Second of all, like, this is also very kind of like insulting, because why would you do that? And then sometimes when I'm not at home, I saw, like, when I got home, I would see her using whatever towels or tissue papers to kind of, like, seal the gap of the room. And I was like, I didn't even bring anything. That is the thing. I don't understand. And then they didn't allow me to do laundry at home anymore. And so whenever I need to do laundry, she will ask her daughter, the host mom will ask her daughter to take me to the laundromat to do laundry. And then it was all based on their schedule, with whether they're free. And I have to pay for the laundry thing, of course. And I think they were kind of surprised that I was able to fight back and talk back, because they thought I was just gonna take it and everything. And I actually wrote a long ass message email to my agency and say, hey, if you wanna keep your reputation and everything, you better check with the people over there, making sure that they treat people like people. And then also they gave me dinner, like, I paid them $700 per month. And the dinner that I got was like a small McDonald's burger.
Oh, gosh.
Sometimes it's even, like, burned.
Wow.
Like toast. So I was like, this is not right.
I'm just so proud of you that you were allowed, I mean, you took the initiative to write that letter too, and that you could stand up for yourself. So this goes
Yeah.
back to your personality, which is quite different than maybe a lot of Taiwanese girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
And it also kind of like reminds me a little bit of like, it's kind of like the experience or like the opportunity to tell yourself that, hey, you're in a place all by yourself. You have no parents to protect you, so you got to protect yourself. And your parents didn't teach you to let people bully you.
Yeah.
So that was me kind of like the first time I was like, and I was even like worried that something bad might happen. So I even have my phone like recording things on.
Oh, you thought everything out?
Yes, I was like planning like all along. I was like, okay, I
Wow.
need to make sure this and this happen so I'm safe.
That's interesting because it's like you're so young, but the fact that you still had the know-all or the thoughts to be able to have these different options that
You know
you could do.
why? Watch too much American movies.
Oh, wow. Okay, so then you moved out of there, but that was, I guess that was the first time that I would say, even if I were to have met Americans like that, it would be a major
Yeah.
total turn off and give perception wise of, are Americans like this? You know, that's kind of weird. But yeah, you survived it, obviously. But the agency took steps to get you out there, find another place, or refund any of your money.
No, I didn't. So I actually, I actually argued with the host mom. I was like, hey, like you gave me this kind of like shitty meals and then I pay for my own laundromat. You should reimburse me and everything. And she was like, no, you should be appreciate that we offer you this. I was like, excuse me, I paid you $700 like per month.
Yeah.
If you let me stay here for free, I would be like really, really appreciating everything. But I think right now you should appreciate me for giving you $700 per month.
Oh my gosh.
And then she was like, okay. And then I was like, and I don't want to argue with you anymore. Like, this is like done. I don't like, because it's only like few, like 20, 30 bucks for something. So it's not really worth my time to argue with them.
Right.
So I just I was like, I'm going to move out. And then I found myself another like house sharing place that's really, really close by my college. So yeah, I didn't even ask the agency to change me to another place because I know the only reason that I wanted to stay in a host family is because I want to experience it. It's not because I like that. I
Yeah.
still like my freedom.
Yeah.
And they have like curfew and stuff. Every host family has those kind of things, I know. But yeah, I just want to experience it. I have my experience now, so I want to do something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So when you were there, then you went to community college. Did you just spend all your time studying, or did you,
Oh, definitely not.
take advantage of your freedom and just, yeah? What did you do? How did you
Traveled.
Yeah. Oh, you traveled. Okay, so this is the thing then. Did you get a degree in the States?
Yeah.
You did. Okay.
Yeah, it's just not bachelor.
Right,
It's an associate degree, and I also
Okay.
got my GED. I think it's I forgot
That's
the
for
whole
high
thing.
school.
Yeah,
A GED.
But the thing is, I didn't even know I didn't have to take GED because with my age and credits and the credits that I took, actually when I graduate from when I get my associate degree, I can have my high school diploma at the same time.
Oh, okay.
But I still took the GED. So yeah, but yeah, it was fun. And then I didn't really spend all my time like studying. Of course, studying is like the least thing that I like to do back then. But at least I enjoy a lot more than when I was in Taiwan.
Right.
Because that time I know what I'm doing and I know what I'm doing it for. Yeah. So not just studying, I also travel. I went to Vancouver since it's so close. So I went to Vancouver a couple of times. I also did 2 road trips from Seattle all the way down to San Diego. Like we just drove the car and then I did like 2 times, I think. Yeah, it was fun. And I also went to like Oregon, Portland, do some shopping.
So where are you getting this money from? Your parents are funding you?
So they only gave me the same amount of money they think it will be able like for me to survive.
You an allowance.
Yeah,
every
allowance.
month.
No, just for a quarter that is including my housing, tuition, everything.
Okay.
So basically, I just have to make sure that if I want to travel, I need to make sure it's cheap enough for me to do that, or
Right.
I need to. There was a couple of months I was pretty much relying on instant noodles.
Well, see, this is the thing, you know, I feel like a lot of Asian kids, whether in Taiwan or other places, their parents, they don't give them this kind of responsibility or teach them how to budget their money and how
Yeah.
to budget and do this kind of stuff.
Yes.
And be responsible for their own well-being and growing up stuff.
Yeah.
They're usually, you know, hovered over by their parents, but yet you did that. And that was just something that was built into you. It's not something that you
No, I
watched
learned the
movies.
hard
You
way.
learned, oh, no. You learned the hard way.
I learned the hard way because at first I was like, you know, it's just like every time when you get a paycheck, you're like, okay, I'm rich now. I want to
Yeah.
spend money. I want to do whatever I want. And then at the end of the month, they're like, uh-oh. And so the first couple of times, because they always give me the money like quarterly.
Right.
So of course, huge amount of money that you get every time. And I was like, wow, I'm rich now. I can buy this and that. And then the first like 2-3 quarters, I was just like spending money, like didn't really calculate it. So like every month, at the end of the quarter, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be hard.
Wow.
Like, yeah. But then later on, I kind of learned how to do it because, yeah, I really like learning the hard way. But I also kind of enjoy it because, again, it's experience. And then it gives you things to talk about. You know, if I didn't make out those mistakes, we wouldn't be able to talk about it right now. Like a
Yeah.
life of me having instant noodles every single day. And I honestly, like, I went to Costco, buy a big box of the chicken noodles thing, and I just like put it into the shelves, and that's my meal every day. And I have eggs and veggie and some sliced meat to make it like healthier, but still like instant noodles.
Oh.
But I do like it. It's fun.
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like you had a great time there, but were there any times where maybe you even ever regretted your choice to go to the States or be there? You know, I mean, you talk about learning things, but was there anything that had happened in your life that?
I mean, if we're talking about going to the States, there was one point that I kind of regretted. It was when I graduated from my college and then I applied for OPT, optional practical training. It's a visa allows international students to stay in the States legally, to work legally for a year. But so I applied for it on time and everything, but then it got approved, but I never really got the actual like the permit thing for me to start working. So I got approved in I think September or October, and the car should be arrived within October or November, but it has never really arrived. But then the interesting thing is, I got the letter from the government saying that the address is undeliverable, and I was like, okay, if the address is undeliverable, how do I get this letter then?
Yeah.
And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. So I had to call the office, and then reapply. I even went all the way to the local office in Washington State. I was like 2 hours away from where I lived by Boston and everything. And just didn't work out. I wasted pretty much 10 months
Wow.
on trying to get that permit. And then at the end, at the end, I asked for the locals. Oh, at the end, I actually went to the school, to international office, and I was like, because I feel like it's always like me, personal, like a person against an organization, a government. So it's never gonna work, you know, like that. So I went to my school, and I was like, hey, I really need your help with this. So it's like an organization against organizations,
Right.
and they're like school internationals office, so they should know what's going on and everything. So they talked to people in the office and everything, and then finally sorted it out for me and got the car. But by the time when I got the car, I only have like 1.5 months left to work. And I
my
asked them
gosh.
if they can kind of like renew it or like renew it or whatever to at least have let me have the full 12 months because
Right.
it wasn't my fault. My address was always correct. And then they're like, well, it's unfortunate. like, this is unfortunate, but this is life. You're just gonna take it. I remember like so well that the person just like the agent just said it like that, and I was like,
Man.
ugh. Yeah, I was like so frustrated. And then after you got the car, you have to apply for this like SSN, right, social security number, and that takes another 2 weeks. So when I finally can work legally, only 1 month left.
Oh,
who's gonna hire you?
Yeah.
So that was like really, was it worth it for me to wait there, to stay there for a year for that, wasting my time? But then right now, thinking back, I don't think I regret any bit of it, because during that year, my life was still like, there's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of good things happen, bad things happen, but still it was so fun, a lot of good experience and everything. Yeah, I met good people, really, really nice people who let me stay in their house. They let me stay in their house for free, but I still gave them $500 per month. But they let me stay there, and then to just kind of tutor their kids Chinese and everything. And then it feels like, wow, we're just strangers, you know. You shouldn't, you don't have to do that. But they did it for me. And I was like, I was so appreciated. So that was like the good person that I've met during the year, and I really, really appreciate it. And it kind of changed my life, because in a way you understand that people they're willing to help others, like so like out of their way to do that.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me feel more confident in myself, as in they trust me because of who I am, and because of how I interact with maybe their kids, how I talk to them, and I gain their trust. So in some certain way, I feel like I was rewarded in a way. But I also met some, you know, bad people, like because I was working under the table at the Chinese restaurants, and of course, shit happens a lot.
Yeah.
And then I got sexual harassed by the boss and everything, and so that was also like another like experience. But of course, I'm very confrontational, and that doesn't really like, you know, bother me. And I was just like, you know, swear at him.
And he stopped. I mean, that's
Yeah, that stopped, because, you know, they were like,
even though he might have just threatened you because you were under the table.
well, that
being
he
paid,
hired
so-
me legally as well.
Yeah, so he would have been in
doesn't-
trouble too.
Yeah.
So, wow. I bet that really shocked him, the fact that, you know, you stood up and
Yeah. And he was also being very like, because they're just like rich Chinese people that, you know, parents' money. It's not even their money. They're just like rich they just have rich parents. So he bought the restaurant, and then they have like rich friends and everything. And then just one day I got out from work, and then he was like, "Hey, Sophie, we have like Maserati over here, Benz over here, and Audi over here. Which one do you want to pick?" I was like, "Oh, thank you very much. I have my Toyota Prius waiting for me. I got myself an Uber, so thank you very much." And then he said, "Oh, I thought you Taiwanese girls like, you know, are like gold diggers." I was like, "I'm sorry, not every Taiwanese girls are like that. So you know, watch out what you say." And then he also like he just makes some like really not so appropriate jokes in front of people, so like talking about like inviting us to his apartment, and then he said there's a pool over there, and he was just like, "Oh, do you want to be naked in my apartment?" I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
So but I was just like, interesting. People just like,
Yeah, I wonder, because, you know, there's a lot of wealthy Taiwanese families here, and they send their kids abroad to study and things. And I mean, I know that you had gotten money from your parents, but your parents are not wealthy.
we're not wealthy at all. There's another like stereotype with international students.
Yeah. After then, your time was up. And this was after how many years you were there totally?
4 years.
Oh, you were there. You had to come back, or was that a choice that you had?
I had to come back. I had no choice, because
even though you were working, you know, illegally, you weren't still able to continue that.
I didn't want to continue working illegally, because that pretty much put myself into a big risk that if one day I really want to, because I still want to go back to the States at some point, you know. So I feel like it's a huge risk for me to do that, to stay there illegally, and then once I get caught, it pretty much just
Yeah, it's
you have
something
no
you
chance
wanna
to go
deal with
back.
it. Yeah.
And also staying there, working under the table, working at a Chinese restaurants, I don't see what is the
Yeah, where that gets you,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. Of course, I think about staying there, working on illegally until, the day I got the green card and everything. But then I think about, I'm only in my 20s and I'm like 23 years old. Do I want to risk my, you know, next 10, 20 years and God knows how long it might take? And do I want to risk that 10, 20 years being here working legally and to get that green card?
Yeah.
Does it worth it? And then I was like, maybe not. And then I'll just come back to Taiwan, try something else. If I really want something, there's always a way out. So that was sort of my decision, but also sort of not my decision. Yeah.
Yeah, so what was it like when you came back to Taiwan? Did you fit back in? Because now you don't have to go to school, so wasn't that you had to find a job? And how did you?
To me, cultural shock is probably not the most accurate word to use because I was born and raised here.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really a shock. It's something expected.
Yeah.
But can I fit in? Not really. But it's different. Before I went to the state, I was so not confident, and then you try so hard to fit in, and then you feel frustrated and everything. But then after I come back to Taiwan, it's different because I'm different. I changed. Yeah. I don't really try so much to fit in anymore because you kind of know who you are. You kind of know what you want, and so you just don't try that hard to fit in. Sometimes you still feel like kind of insecure. Sometimes there are still times like that. But then it's not as difficult to live here than it was before.
Right.
Yeah, I remember when I was in elementary school, no, maybe junior high school, I actually post something on Facebook. I said, I will fake or I'll try my best to fit into society until one day I have the courage to be myself. And then I think up until now, I might not have the 100% courage, but I think I am 70% there. And I'm like mentally, I'm stronger than back then. Back then you're like 10%.
Yeah.
People give you a slap, you're like, oh, dad. But right now, you're like, people give you a slap, you probably can defend yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, mentally and in everything, I think I'm stronger and I have more courage and everything. So most of the time I can be myself and don't get frustrated that easily. But there are still, times in life that you're just kind of fragile. But
Yeah,
that's okay.
yeah. I think that's life.
Yeah. I think right now I kind of learned that life is far from happily ever after, far from, perfect. There's always happy things and not so happy things, but that is just life. Yeah.
So what was the biggest challenge then you had coming back to Taiwan?
I'd say still cultural thing. Because it's just not what I like, what I used to. But and then you have to, of course, you have to survive. You find a job, and then finding a job was also kind of like an issue for me because, well, my first job was kind of like good because I intentionally always go to foreign companies and everything because I know there's more like higher possibility for me to actually fit in without putting much effort.
Yeah.
So that was a great strategy. I think that was a smart strategy. And it did work well for a while. And then I did work for a Taiwanese company for like two years or so. And that did really, give me like the kind of like the decision, helps me make the decision of I would never go back working for a Taiwanese company because it definitely not suits me.
Yeah.
So
what was it that you had wanted to do as a career before? Did you had you a thought about that or?
Honestly, it has always been doing business kind of thing, but it has always been like changing, depends on the time and circumstances and everything. When I first got the job, the first job I got back in Taiwan was like doing some educational kind of thing, like Chinese pod, doing like, Chinese teaching material, and filming kind of thing. So there was a time I really enjoyed doing production kind of things, and I was like, I want to be a producer, and then but then it changed at times when you feel like, okay, this might be something that I like, but it's not something exactly, like it's probably like 70% that I like, but probably not 90% or even 100. So then it changed, and then but it got me to realize that I just like to be a fixer. And a fixer can be in production industry, but a fixer can also be in business industry.
Right.
When you're a business manager, when you have clients and everything, you help them solve their problems and everything. So that can be something like that. And it can also be in the education, industry where kids having trouble learning things, but then you find solutions to help them to, not even just kids, also like adults and everything. So I think that changing from different industry helps me to understand what I like, what I don't like. Yeah. So.
Okay. And then, so right now, I mean, I didn't even realize it, but you have your own company.
Yeah, it's like one person company.
Okay, but you did I remember you collaborated with your friends or some partnerships?
So that would be like two different kind of like business. Well,
have you had more than one company that you started?
I sort of, yes. So the first thing was a barbecue, like really like barbecue stand-ish kind of thing. Not a very fancy barbecue restaurant. It's just kind of like a barbecue stand, but it's in a food plaza. So we do have seats and an AC.
Okay.
It's not like in a night market.
Yeah.
But we still sell things like the night market things, but then it's like skewers and everything. And that was with 3 of my friends. And then it's still ongoing. It's not doing like well, but it's a good experience. And I think it's because it's not doing well. So it kind of motivates me to find the solutions and again, be a fixer to find like, okay, if this way is not working, is there any other ways that we can go, any other directions, any other possibilities, opportunities, and the things that we do. And so I think that kind of with the pork knuckle things that you remember, the event that you came to visit me, the taco event, that was kind of like something like an outcome of the result of, because the barbecue thing is not doing well, so we kind of have to do other stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the pork knuckle things is I think we're on the right track, I would say. So it was good. And the other business that I had it happened really unexpectedly. It was last year when I quit my last job. And then I was like, okay, I quit the job because I didn't really like it. And then it wasn't really going with, whatever I had in mind. And then, but after I quit, 2 of my clients came to me. One is a supplier, one is a retailer or like sales channels and stuff. So one asked me for products, one asked for sales channels. I was like, okay, this sounds like an opportunity over here.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll hook you guys up. And I didn't even ask for commission, but then they gave me commission. I was like, okay. So it looks like there's an opportunity over here. So I asked my dad, because he has a trading company thing, like registered in Taiwan, even though it's not exactly like actively working. But I was like, can I use your company and everything? And I also even proposed that, I would like to do business with you, and because he does like furnitures and stuff. And then he kind of struck my confidence in a way, saying that he thinks that I need to look presentable to be able to be successful in business. And I was like, hello? Like, look presentable in what way? And he's like, maybe look fitter, losing weight or whatever. And like, I was like, I never really looked like sloppy. And like, when I go to talk about business, I don't think people ever reject me because of my look,
your outfit
or appearance and everything. And I got so pissed, and I had a huge argument with him. And I was like, you know what? I don't need your help. I'm going to start my own company. So the week after, I started my own company.
Wow.
I registered a company. I did it all by myself. I didn't even hire the accountant that he was working with. I was just like, you know what? I'll do it all by myself. I'll prove that you're wrong. In my mind, I was like, Oprah is not exactly thin.
Yeah, I think this is the thing that is problem worldwide. I think people's perception based on their own experiences on what things should be is not necessarily always the reality or what somebody else thinks, you know. I mean, did you, aside from being angry, was it something that, did you feel hurt? That
Yes.
Yeah.
I did. But I have to say this though, because I don't want to hurt my dad's feeling. I know he definitely came from a good place.
Yeah.
Definitely, for sure. And he never wanted to hurt me. I know that for sure. And I think the reason why he told me all these things is because he wants to protect me from getting hurt from the world.
Yeah.
You know, because the world is not exactly a kind place most of the time. And he wants me to know that before I actually experience it. He wants to prepare me for that. Yes.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what he was doing, and I don't really blame him for that. And I think that's what a parent should be doing to prepare a child for the world. So yes, but yeah, my feeling was hurt for sure, because I feel like at that moment, I feel like you're my father, you know, I want your approval, but then
And support too.
yes,
for
and
your
support.
company. Yeah.
But then that's not what I got at the end. So it did feel like I was frustrated, I was sad and hurt and everything. But then right now, like, you know, after a few days after, you know that he didn't want to hurt you. He was trying to prepare you for the world. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I do. And if it wasn't for that argument, I would have my own company right now.
Yeah, that's true.